Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Pursuit Podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Engineer. On today's episode, we are joined by Jordan Reilly. He is a co-owner of the media agency Captured Creative, and in our opinion, one of the best content creators in our industry. We discussed how he got started creating content, how the barrier of entry might not be as high as some people think, what it's like filming for industry giants like First Lite and MeatEeater, discussed the importance of telling a story, ran through some gear options for different budgets, and discussed his newest endeavor, Dialed Archery. Please welcome Jordan Reilly. Great.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, we are officially live with Mr. Jordan Reilly from Captured Creative. Sir, how are we doing this afternoon?
Great. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you, man. The hustle is probably slowing down maybe a little bit. I don't want to speak for you, but, maybe never stops. And, of course, like always, we got the man behind the camera, which is super excited for this conversation, Mr. Ben Johnson, sir.
Yes, I am. I'm here.
And we're officially recording everywhere. So this is awesome. This will be probably one of the first or second videos up on our YouTube. So if you're watching, thank you. Jordan, man, let's go ahead and get right started. So introduce yourself, a little bit about your background, where you're from, and what you got going on.
Yeah, I'm over here in Minnesota, central Minnesota. I am one of the owners of Captured Creative, along with Taylor Coleman, the other founder. We basically, we've known each other forever. Played Little League together when we were, second, third grade maybe.
Sure.
Just graduated high school together and kind of kept it going, the friendship going, and got into college, and we've always had the same interests. And I think it was fall of 2013. I was still in school. Taylor had graduated a year earlier than I did from college, and just decided hey, let's kind of start something here. And ended up after I graduated college, I moved in with Taylor for about a year, and that's kind of where it happened. We got a little bit more serious about it. We both had day jobs at the time.
Yeah.
But every night we'd come home from work, and 6 to 2 we'd eat dinner, and then 6 to 2 a.m. we'd just work on stuff, whether it was just going outside and filming whatever we could think of, and just kind of working the craft. And eventually that led into a little bit more of an improved skill set and kind of springboarded us to where we are now.
Oh, definitely. So you guys were always, even like in your high school days, were you guys always into media, or is that something that you kind of picked up as you got into college, or how'd that work out?
Not really. I'm trying to think. I think the first time we actually filmed anything was on Taylor's mom. She had I think it was a Canon PowerShot that just also happened to shoot video.
Yeah.
I think it probably shot 320p. Something you could count the pixels if you look hard enough on the screen. But I remember, I think that was maybe early college, freshman year or something, coming back from Minnesota's gun season. We sat in the ground blind together, didn't see a deer, and took the footage, edited it in iMovie at the time. And that was kind of the very first hey, this is kind of fun. And at that time, our only frame of reference was hunting TV shows. I'm sure a lot of other people have a similar thought to it. But that was definitely the moment where it clicked. And at that time, I had just I would be willing to bet some people can relate. When I first started college, I was going for physical therapy, and realized very quickly, and I mean the first 2 weeks when you're in those weed out classes, that was not my jam. I was nowhere near dedicated or I guess you could argue smart enough to make it through those courses.
Yeah.
So I pivoted, and I ended up as a graphic design major. So It kind of paralleled, the media side of things pretty well.
Oh, for sure. And I have a similar story too. I went into college and I was going to be a diesel mechanic up at a school up in Northwest Ohio, which is a super big ag area. And quickly realized that this wasn't for me. I was too far home. Came back home, and before the session started, became a graphic design major myself here locally. So yeah.
Nice.
And then here I am, doing a podcast with you guys. So
That's awesome.
It's funny how it all works out. So Let's go ahead and get into Captured Creative. Ben and I are super big fans of your guys' work. In a lot of ways, we try to emulate your guys' style, not only yours, but Taylor's, Hunter's. I mean, Justin, the whole crew. I mean, everyone kind of has a really good, clean photo style, and I really appreciate that. In the world of selfies and what have you, it's refreshing. Your content's definitely refreshing. So let's get into Capture Creative, kind of how the band got started, and then the work that you do as an agency across several different companies, if you will.
Yeah. So like I mentioned, Taylor and I lived together for a bit there before I got married and moved in with my wife afterwards. So that kind of year that we lived together was kind of the catalyst into getting in touch with brands. That was kind of the golden age of Instagram, where, the algorithms didn't suppress you and you could kind of get in front of more people. And
no doubt,
it was just a little bit easier, and there are also just fewer people on it. So if you were on, you could get in front of people more often. So we just started, we already had products that we loved and used. We were already using, some of the early First Lite stuff. We'd already shot Matthews. So, it was kind of easy to like, hey, we like this stuff. We should just start shooting content before we even contacted anyone over there.
Yeah.
And that's what led into the relationships that we have, was basically just, hey, tag them on social like anybody else can, and, do some kind of projects just for the fun of it and send it to them and see what they say. And, like for instance, that's exactly how we got with First Lite. We got some new gear in, decided, hey, let's just go film this sequence, edit it down to 30 seconds and send it to them.
Yeah.
And see what they say. And I mean, everybody's story is a little different, and, the amount of time that you have to put in before you get a result is going to vary. But at that time, I think we'd been really working hard on the production stuff for 2 years, just trying to get off of our feet. And we were shooting weddings and everything too. So we had plenty of experience in making content, making videos, shooting photos, that sort of thing. So we pitched that initial cut to First Lite, and I think it was probably a month or so after we got a phone call like, hey, what are you guys doing in May? We'd love it if we could work together on some product videos. It was just, like really couldn't believe, that something like that could have just happened. But I mean, we definitely put in the time and effort, making zero money, spending more of our money, and working 2 jobs at the same time to make it happen. And that was kind of like the first, touch into the industry, kind of getting a little look at, how that works from the inside. Not that we knew everything, because looking back, we knew absolutely zero about what we were doing. No, but we could hold it together just long enough to make it seem like we did.
That's awesome. And it's really funny. Like, I recently just started here with Vance Outdoors, but prior to that was doing multimedia for like financial industry, senior portraits, weddings, that kind of thing. And it's so funny how small this industry truly, truly is. Like when you're looking at it from the outside in, or you're looking at it from, just as a consumer, it's like, oh man, it's this massive industry. But really, like, when I think I've heard you mention this before, but everybody knows everybody in this industry. And it's just so funny how, your work with First Lite got you to Taylor, we got to Taylor, and now we're talking. So it's just like, how connected everything is. Truly, it's pretty cool. But
before we move on, Jordan. So when you guys were filming these early videos, I know a lot of people say, gear doesn't matter, all that stuff. Yeah. It's all about the practice and all about that. So like, if someone were starting off, could you let the folks know like what kind of equipment you were using? I know we're not going to nerd super out on gear on the podcast, but just to let people know, like you may not need to have a $10,000 rig to start off doing this stuff.
Yeah, our business was started on I think at the time it was like $1,000 or $1,200. It was the Canon 70D, a crop sensor, like very entry. We were using third-party glass. Nothing, like our whole camera kit, everything at that point was probably $5,000. I mean, if you don't shoot photos and like that seems like a lot of money, but by production standards, that's a drop in the bucket of what it can be. But if you know the basics and you know what you're doing, I mean, you could pick up an iPhone right now and
for sure.
go shoot stuff that looks professional, you know? So yeah, we started on just a crop sensor, I mean, not bottom of the line by any means, but I mean, mid-range kind of gear.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, with the iPhone technology nowadays, you could film 4K on an iPhone and just get a little gimbal and run with it.
Oh, my word. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's really, the barrier to entry now to get into stuff is low. I mean, there's obviously, it varies what kind of work you want to get into, but if you just want to learn and get into shooting, I mean, you've got the gear that you need in your pocket.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was a Gary Vee thing too that said, like, if the content is there, people are going to consume it regardless how you're filming it, right? And so if you have content that's engaging and content that people want to see, I mean, we have a pro staffer, Brian Slayton, who's the creek crawler on YouTube, and he films everything with GoPro, and he's super successful with it too. It's just chest rig GoPro, you know, doing selfie intros, selfie close, and then just fishing, and you know, barrier entry. I mean, not everyone can afford a GoPro, but they're certainly more affordable than some things for sure. So
exactly. Yep. Especially when you're starting out too. And it's obviously different when it turns into work and there's, you know, it becomes a cool piece of gear to have to just literally a tool. I mean, it still might be cool, but you know, before you're making money, like there's so many options that you can do without breaking the bank that, you know, it's very easy to get into.
And I even found myself this year just self-filming myself, like using my phone. I mean, we had the rig. We brought the R5 out. I brought my R out. Like, we were filming, like, legitimately. But then sometimes you just don't want to pack all that, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a lot of extra weight.
I think Ben's still cussing me from the hunting trip that we did. we hiked in some public land, preserve land this fall, and we've talked about this on other episodes too. But what was that? The old.
It was the original fourth arrow, the heavy one.
And he's still cussing at me for having to walk a mile to get to the spot that we were wanting to shoot.
It was still a blast. Yeah. It was just one of those things like, man, I wish we would have just had a little light rig, you know? Nothing crazy, GoPros or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
The best is when you climb up into the tree, get it all set up, and you immediately dread having to tear it down in like 3 hours.
Well, we had the last night that we were there, that we were looking on our map, and I was like, Ben, these clouds, like, we're like in some hardwoods, right? We're in an oak flat.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of these hardwoods, and we through the forest cover, we could see some dark clouds coming in. I'm like, Ben, we need to start tearing down, bro. And no sooner than we tore down, there, you know, the whole herd of does come walking in. And
I had my bow ready to drop down the tree, and he's like, they're coming in. I'm like, dude, I've already pulled my arrow and everything. Like, I got my rope on the bow to drop it down the tree.
Yeah. And it's funny because even Taylor, like, I mean, he makes a business. I mean, and I say business, but air quotes, but he makes a business with his YouTube channel, you know, self-filming. And he's like, dude, sometimes I just hate to self-film, but I know that one time I'm going to smack like 4 in one night. And it's just like, so sometimes, I mean,
that's true.
I mean, word of advice is use what you got, you know, use what you got, you know, especially with the iPhone having the 3 times optical zoom now. It's like, man, you put that thing in 4K, crop it a little bit if you have to, and
you could rig up a clamp on a fourth arrow or a muddy arm or something, and you know, roll with it.
Muddy arms available at Vance Outdoors. How's that? No, you know, the other thing too. I mean, look at the I won't say publicity, but you saw, and I'm sure you saw the guy that was saddle hunting and had the barn owl land on his rig. I don't know if you saw that. He had the Insta360 camera.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah,
I mean, he was just self-filming, and then boom, he became viral like instantly because of that owl landed right there. And you just never know what's going to happen. So, so obviously going to more professional, you know, working with these companies. I mean, I'm a First Lite guy. I think you guys probably have a lot of credit due to that. So I'm a First Lite guy. Obviously, they've put you in some unique positions across the country, right? Whether you're down in Arkansas filming ducks, or you're in DC filming with Taylor, or even in the back 40. I know you had a lot to say with the first season in the back 40. All the way to Idaho. What's your favorite hunt, if you will, to film? You know, the one that's easier to get the camera gear in, or did you prefer more of the adventure style elk hunt, that kind of thing?
Man, I like switching it up. I like the variety that we're able to have. But at the end of the day, I'm a whitetail hunter, and like that's my bread and butter.
Yeah.
You know, like if it's November 1st and I'm not in the whitetail woods, I'm just itchy.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's behind the camera or behind the bow or whatever. So we've had great experiences across the U.S. You know, producing a lot of stuff, but I mean, the most memorable ones. I've been able to be in the tree a handful of different times with Greg Farrell from First Lite. He's their whitetail product line manager.
Sure.
And I mean, some of my most like incredible memories that I've got saved in the memory bank are sitting behind him in November watching, you know, we did a hunt in 2020 in Kansas, and he shot a big one, and like it was just, that's just like the Super Bowl, you know. It's like winning the Super Bowl, and you're sitting up in the tree when it all comes together. The storyline of the film that you're shooting, you know, comes together. You know, you can plan all you want when you're hunting, but you can't plan on, you know, that 150 walking by at 20 yards.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So, and obviously we're rigged up to like, hey, if that doesn't happen, we've got a story in the bag already. Yeah. We can, you know, it's going to be a good film, but it's just like that cherry on top that can't be matched. So sure. I would say overall, like the whitetail trips that we've had are the most meaningful. Even you mentioned Taylor Chamberlain's film and City Limits. Like that was the first film we did for First Lite, and just everything just kind of seemed to fall together on that one.
Oh too. Yeah, that was great.
That was fun.
Great. And we talked with him about that too. Yeah. On honestly, so I started getting into hunting, and Ben's kind of the same way. Whitetail hunting specifically. I know we're here in Ohio, but sports, photos, weddings, that kind of thing was my life through the 20s, right? And so eventually I got to a point where it's like, you know, I want to start hunting again. You know, living in rural Ohio, it's just what you do. And that City Limits video truly, not only did it get me into saddle hunting, which, you know, the barrier entry is kind of expensive, but once you're in, you're in. Yeah. You know, I was looking for gear. You know, I hate to, you know, I'm a camera guy, so I'm a gear snob by default, right? And so I wanted some good gear, and that video by itself, I think, truly got me into it. So it's really cool to get a chance to talk to you about that, because I know that you guys filmed it, and we're actually planning. Taylor and Billy and I are planning on smacking some does this fall. So hopefully I can try to make something cool with it too. But it's kind of full circle, right?
Yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah, that was the first time I'd ever seen a saddle in person too, and that was before it kind of popped off and became more mainstream. So I'm watching this, you know, having met Taylor for the first time, watching this 230-pound dude climb up in a saddle and going, man, I hope that holds. And it was also my first time using a climber stand too. So like the first morning we filmed, we were going into this area in the dark that I had never seen before. Got, you know, 20 pounds of camera gear on my back, using a climber for the first time, hunting with a guy that I didn't know in a saddle. And we climbed up, got set up and everything. And as it got light out, I'm looking down going, holy crap. Like, I guess it's different when you don't have steps. I was probably 40 feet up in the tree, and Taylor in a saddle was 10 feet below me. And it was just there's a lot of things like that have happened throughout the years of production, where you're so focused on like getting the shot, and then you like pull out of the lens, pull back from the monitor, and look around and go, what in the world just happened?
Oh, for sure. Well, you remember when we did a little media day with one of our pro staffers, Andrew. And that tree, of course, I'm sure you know, the only tree that gave me the opportunity to see both him and the bow without obstruction was this, like, I want to say 8 inches, but it probably wasn't.
A little bigger than a softball, maybe, where you were.
And I'm like, well, you know, here I am with the R5 and my 7200, and I'm hanging on this tree for dear life, and it's swaying as we're going.
Yeah. Every time you breathe, the tree rocks back and forth.
And I'm like, we're going to test out this bigger than this, you know, basketball-sized tree. So that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yep.
So we kind of touched on like just starting out. Obviously, you know, you're filming with First Lite. You guys are starting using kind of quasi entry level, more intermediate level cameras. Let's go ahead. Ben's kind of salivating here. Let's nerd out. Let's nerd out and talk about what you guys got going on now. I know there's some Reds in there. Are you still with Canon in terms of like the mirrorless side of things as well, or did you guys switch over? I know a lot of people are switching over to like Sony and what have you. So if you want to kind of nerd out and kind of talk about what your current production system looks like from a hunting perspective, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, we're still with Canon. If you're a Sony fan, I'm sorry, but you're wrong.
Amen.
Yeah.
There's guys that make it look good, but
yeah,
I don't get it, I guess.
I feel bad because Mitch does a really good job with the Sony.
Yeah.
But
yeah, there's plenty of guys who nail it, but the stuff that we had what was it, A7S2 for a little bit, and it was a good camera, but the amount of work that you had to do to get the color to look
you can't beat it
close to as good as the Canon stuff does is just like I said, there's guys who do incredible work. I just that's not me, I guess. But yeah, so we're rolling Canon for mirrorless cameras for stills, and then for some filming depending on the situation that we're in, R5s and R6s. And then we do have a Red Scarlet W and then a Red Komodo that we use for some of the bigger, more built out production stuff.
Yeah.
And those are, I mean, they're definitely not cheap rigs, but they're also not like the top of the line either.
Yeah.
There's like a definite like what we're able to do, and like the financial part of things, what we're able to charge and that sort of thing for us just doesn't justify the big $60,000 rigs that you see some guys rolling. And we're also really tough on gear, and I would rather wreck a camera that's a fraction of that cost and not have the stress of replacing it too. So that's a big part of it too, just when it comes to gear selection. What's the situation you're going into? We shot some waterfall stuff this fall, and you just have to use the gear that, if it doesn't happen on camera, it doesn't happen when you're filming.
Exactly.
So you have to use the gear that's going to allow you to get that footage. And sometimes that does mean pushing the bar and dragging a cinema camera into a marsh that, you can potentially dunk it and wreck it, or humidity wrecks it or something like that. But you also have to be smart enough to be able to finish the shoot. And if you wreck a bunch of gear, that's not going to happen too. So it definitely depends on the situation.
Sure. Was there any difference between going with like a C camera versus going with the Red? I mean, like a Canon Cinema versus the Red, or is that just kind of what you guys decided that you were going to find yourself?
Yeah. And I guess we do have a Canon C202 on their cinema line.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, you just can't really touch what, a Red or an RE. Those are obviously way different systems, but there's just something that you can't match as far as that quality goes. And especially now, as you step into, like, YouTube is going to be allowing, or maybe they already do, 5 and 6K uploads.
Yep.
And, playing the algorithm game, if you are early adapters to what they're putting out, it helps our clients and it helps us. It helps our content hit more people too. So that's a big factor. And it's kind of constantly evolving, but using the best gear possible for the moment possible. And going back to the Red, it's just not that it's an industry standard by any means, but anybody who's doing production full time, with crews and big clients, is kind of, you have to take a step in your gear. You can't film everything on a certain level all the time.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I noticed that, like, on the financial world, when I was doing some media there, we subcontracted out some stuff for some video shoots, and one guy was using the Blackmagic 6K, which is a great camera, more of affordable option for people looking at that. And but then we had a Central Ohio company that does a lot of high-end video work, and they came out with the REs and the Reds and stuff, and it's just like, it's just so silky smooth, like you can't touch it. So your hard drive space is crying, but
I've got 80 terabytes sitting right here, and it's almost full.
Ben's always like,
it's crazy how fast it goes too. Like we just upgraded the laptop that I use to edit videos on, and we got a NAS server in the building, so I'll edit a couple projects and I have to dump them, even just with the 4K from the R5. It's ridiculous. So I can't even imagine what the amount of storage that a Red would take up. It's got to be ridiculous.
It's, it just, again, it depends on the project, and this is getting kind of nerdy. There's different compression settings with the Red too.
Sure.
Some of it is actually, it takes up less space than like a Canon, full 4K clip would, depending on how things are set up. But you definitely just, put that in the back of your mind, and storage is cheap. So hit record and don't stop until you're done.
It's so funny how much storage has come down over just like since I was in college. I graduated in 2009, and it's just like, to get 100 gig was probably like, or 500 gig was probably $300. Now I could get like 8 terabytes for $300. It's just stupid. So,
Before we move on from camera gear nerdery, as far as like filters go with all the cameras, do you guys use variable NDs or polarizers and stuff like that?
Good question.
Yeah. Yep. Again, depending on what we're doing, obviously if we're outside, we're using ND filters on everything. We haven't really played around with any special effects. I know there's a bunch of different, effect filters that you can slap on the front of your lens and, emulate anamorphic glass or, different kind of lens flare stuff.
Sure.
Never really played with that. I think especially because the industry that we're in, when you're hunting, you want it to seem real. You don't want it to seem like a J.J. Abrams, blockbuster movie, which you could do stuff that looks very cool. But when I'm shooting a film, for a rut hunt, in Missouri or something like that, you have to use what fits your scene. So as far as that stuff goes, we keep it pretty simple.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, that definitely helps. That'll help you pitch the idea of getting some
I've been trying to get NDs for a long time.
So I'm going to nerd out, and I apologize to listeners. So this is the conversation that Ben and I have about 24 versus 30. Half the people listening to this probably not even going to understand what we're talking about. But so I have the Canon 0 to 9 stop ND filter that we have for the EF mounted lenses, right? In terms of our bodies. And I tell Ben sometimes, with the compression that you have on Instagram and the compression that you have on YouTube, if you need a low aperture shot, just speed ramp that thing up, man, and just be done with it. But he wants a cinematic look, and I appreciate that, and I understand it.
Yeah.
But sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
It's about motion blur to make it look natural. I don't care what the compression is. But, everybody's different. It's not,
I just like giving them a hard time, to be honest with you. But we're getting into some more stuff here in terms of like tips for our listeners in terms of filming. But kind of before we get into that, you've had the opportunity to probably, I'm sure Steve and Callahan and Levi Morgan and all those guys, obviously Greg and Taylor. Has there been, you mentioned the time with Greg there and the Kansas hunt. Is there favorite, we won't throw you under the bus here or anything, but is there a favorite person that you've hunted with? Like what's been like your I guess most memorable person to hunt with?
Yeah. This is probably going to seem like a super political and like neutral answer, but I've never hunted with anyone where I've walked away going, I'm never going to hunt with that moron again. Yeah. I've been very, very lucky to be able to hang out with some really high tier guys. And they all have their different styles and stuff. And obviously I know some of them better than others. Like Greg, we can sit and talk shop and, mess around with the tree stand all day if we wanted to. And it's just a good time.
Sure.
But there's definitely a different, hunting with Steve. We filmed a squirrel hunt with him a couple of years ago. Yeah. And just seeing the different personalities, like that guy, the wheels are always turning. Yeah. And he's just very, very smart, very, very direct and intentional with what he's doing. And to some effect, everybody who hunts is like that. But the first time filming with him, I was like, oh, that's why you're so good at everything that you set out to do. You might not be an expert, but you're constantly learning. Yep. And kind of flipping over those flat rocks to see how what else can we do in this situation? So that was really cool. I did have a hunt with Levi last fall that we'll be releasing a film, but just a really cool experience with him on his home farm. Yeah. Because we were filming, he kind of begrudgingly went into a spot in October that he did not want to go into before the rut. Yeah. And I'll wait till the film comes out to spill the beans, but you can probably connect the dots. Things worked well. Yeah. And it was incredible. So there's been special moments like that along the way too. And just every person that I've been able to film when they're hunting, it's you're taking a master class from the best people to do it, you know?
Yep. Exactly.
Everybody, and Mark Kenyon was the same way, just he's just got these little things that he's learned over the years because he breaks this stuff down and talks to smart people and learns to them. Where when I'm filming, I'm constantly sitting there just taking notes in the back of my head, like, all right, sure. when I'm in my own stand next week, I'm going to try this and this, and it's cool. It's kind of a side benefit of getting to do it is just becoming more efficient hunter myself.
Oh, for sure. And Mark Kenyon is definitely one of those people that I think that guy's going to forget. I mean, he's the same age as us, and it's just like he's probably forgotten more stuff than I'll ever learn, but he's also been doing it a long time. We're actually interviewing next week with John Eberhardt.
Nice.
And so I'm in Mark Kenyon's brain like right now, like what did he ask him? Because I know that was a good interview. Like if he's asking him, like I'm gonna have similar questions to ask him and stuff, and yeah, I can see, you got a lot of variety in terms of people. I mean, look, you got Levi, you got Andy May, you got Mark, you got, all these people, Clay, Jeff Sturgis. I mean, you got all these people. Yeah. Clay for sure. I would love to pick Clay's brain for 5 minutes at least. And, but Steve, Yanni, I actually went to, and I don't know if you had a chance to follow along with the guys. This is probably like 2018. I don't know if you were working with them yet, but they did the live tour. The MeatEeater live tour, and I went to the Cleveland one. I drove up to Cleveland, just a couple hours south or north of us, and got to like kind of talk to like with Yanni being the producer, and then kind of talking about the fourth wall and how they film the show and kind of what all goes into it. That was like super enlightful. Like it was really neat. It was really neat. And you could see like Steve, just like how he talks. So we did like a VIP thing and just like. Constantly thinking and constantly asking questions, and it was really cool. It was really cool. So.
There's and there honestly, like, there's a lot of good hunting shows out there.
Sure.
And this isn't bashing anybody because there's some incredible stuff and there's guys just grinding it out. But there's a reason that MeatEeater's on Netflix and no other show is.
Yep.
They're so buttoned down, and it's just the way that they approach things. Both hunting and production is just next level compared to what anybody else is doing. And it's once you kind of, like you said, once you kind of talk to those guys and like see the inside, it's like, oh man, like this isn't some just like thrown together production. It's very thought through, and it shows in the stuff that they put out.
Oh, for sure. And a lot of those shows kind of get like a stigma, if you will, right? In terms of, I think one that does a really good job is Red Arrow. I can't think of that guy's name off the top of my head. But you know what I'm talking about. And but there's just even still, like even the nice stuff that you see on the Outdoor Channel or Pursuit Channel, it doesn't hold a candle. You know what I mean? In terms of production, I mean, how many other people do you think to get an episode where we travel someplace exotic and we come away with nothing and we still make an entertaining show? Like there's not very many people that do that, and they do that all the time. I mean, there's several episodes where it's like, here's this cool hunt. Well, we didn't get anything, but we had a hell of a time, right? So
yeah. I mean, there's one. I think it's a bear hunting episode. I don't remember what season of Steve's, and they didn't have a single music track in the entire episode.
Yeah,
it was just natural audio, and how hard it is to pull that off and make it interesting. Like that just blows my mind as. The risk that they took with that edit was huge. And then with other shows too, I mean, Heartland, Bow guys, they kind of set the standard to how outdoor television looks now. You know, like there's a lot of guys that, and same with Levi's show too. There's visuals there that Micah is doing. That's it. The bar is just constantly being raised, which is awesome. It's exactly what the Outdoor Channel. I mean, I still don't watch. I think I'm too close to a lot of content. Like at the end of the day, I don't want to watch hunting content because I've been working on it, and that's like a totally just like entitled. Like, I understand how lucky I am to be doing what I'm doing, but if you work any job during the day, you probably need at least a little bit of a break every once in a while. But I will say there's definitely been a push with a lot of shows like that on the outdoor networks that they're raising the bar, and it's a good thing. It's what's needed to get the audience back to where it was in the heyday.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you think about not that long ago, hunting was on ESPN. I mean, like I remember watching fishing shows and hunting shows like literally on ESPN2 or whatever on Saturday mornings, and now you have to have special programming to even get to it. But I'm glad you mentioned Heartland because they have a really good cinematic look. Another really good one on YouTube is Growing Deer TV.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're out of Missouri, right? And no, Grant Woods. Yeah, Dr. Grant Woods. You know the industry needs a lot more of that, I think, for sure. So
one that comes to mind for me for as far as like cinematic story, all that stuff, like Donnie Vincent. You ever watch any of his stuff? It's it's ridiculous. Yeah. It's so good.
Well, kind of diving in this. So this is a horrible segue, but what if someone is wanting to create their own show? And by that, I mean, let's talk about people wanting to kind of produce their own content, or maybe go out, maybe I want to film for Ben, or Ben wants to film for me. I want to kind of start in we kind of ran over some gear and tried to tell people like the barrier entry isn't as high as what you think to create content. But if you're wanting to kind of get into this and kind of be a producer, if you will, maybe let's start at some we'll shoot some numbers out and maybe see, kind of what gear you think you would be picking up at this certain price point. So let's say I'm someone with a lower budget in the neighborhood of like $500. I have my phone with me. What other gear should you think that I should invest in to kind of help create content?
Yeah, I mean, backing up, I'll get into what you're saying, but before you even start that, you need to kind of decide what you want to create. If you're just going out and you want to film the kill shot, if you're bow hunting, just to review, awesome. Like, don't need much. You can get a mount for your iPhone or get a GoPro or something. That can be the one clip. Okay. But if you're wanting to get into like cutting an episode of a hunt or of an entire season, even if it's just on a notepad, like jot down every story has a beginning, middle, and end. Whether it's a fiction story or a hunting show, you have to have those three elements. So write down if you're on a week-long hunt, what do you want to accomplish if you don't get a kill? Like, what story do you want to tell? Yeah. And then from there, you can take that and you can kind of decide what gear you're going to use and set your budget. So, for like that $500 range, I would probably, if you say you've got the new iPhone with 3x zoom, awesome. Let's start right there. You've already got it. That's $0 out of your pocket. Maybe you need to pick up a hard drive or something so you can dump the footage or airdrop the footage to your computer and, save it there. I would pick up some kind of microphone and a recorder. In fact, I even think that I've never used one, but I'm pretty sure they do sell lav mics that you can plug into your iPhone.
Right into the microphone. Use. I think they do.
Yep, exactly. And right there, you're boosting. I mean, I would rather have pristine audio and crap footage to work with than the other way around. Because you can't Band-Aid audio, and trust me, I've screwed up everything 7 ways to Sunday. So like make sure that your audio is good if you are going to be having dialogue. If you're just going to do like a music video montage thing, whatever, you're good to go. But I would, at that price range, I would probably stick with an iPhone. Maybe you can sneak a GoPro in there if you want a second angle. And some kind of mic and run it that way. And those are great tools to start learning the whole process of this too.
Oh, sure. Especially with the new iPhone and the macro capabilities, you can get some good B-roll clips. Like I said, I probably would throw in some of the muddy stuff is very inexpensive. Maybe like a muddy GoPro stand or money, just quarter 20 mount. Basically, you could put anything on it at that point. And like an iPhone, do some like cross. I mean, even just myself, just hanging a GoPro in the tree, like on the saddle, pointing down at you, you could get a lot of stuff from that, So, or maybe like a Tacticam, like if you wanted to get like a Tacticam, do like a bow mount for like a stab mount, or even just like a riser mount on a Tacticam, I think that would be beneficial too. There's that one that we were messing with that one for, I don't think it was very much, maybe $300-400, So
yeah. And there's, especially if you're starting out too, there's so many options. And obviously, like if you think you're going to do it for a while, buy the muddy stuff, buy Fourth Air, whatever brand is, suiting to you. But also don't be afraid of used stuff. If you can find stuff that's used, it's going to save, especially camera gear. It's going to save you a bunch of money. And I think, looking back at my lenses, I don't know if I own a lens that I bought brand new. Most of them I bought used. So as you like step up, that's totally fine, as well as for some, for like a GoPro mount or, different mounts for your phone or whatever, Amazon is a great resource, because if GoPro's suction cup mount is $50, you can probably find one on Amazon for 10.
Oh, for sure.
And is it the same exact quality? Probably not, but also if it does, it does the job you need it to, you're saving a bunch of money there.
Sure. So let's say I'm getting into the point. I'm going to go ahead and jump up just a little bit. So let's say I have a GoPro or I have an iPhone that's mounted, like in my situation. I think I'm kind of thinking like the R level right now, or maybe some of those lower level, kind of leaning into the professional realm. What kind of gear would you look into? I think it's going to be a lot of what we've just talked about, but maybe just improved. So, go ahead. I'll let you kind of, let's say like that 1,000, 1,500, maybe even the 2,000 range for everything.
Yeah. Anywhere in there, you're going to get some very good gear. Again, if you're looking at buying one of those cameras, look used. B&H Photo has a great used selection. eBay, you can get lucky as long as somebody has good reviews. And then for a lens, you could do just about everything with the 24-70. You're not going to be able to, for bow hunting, if you're rifle hunting and you're going to be taking a 200-yard shot, you're probably going to need to up the lens game a little bit, or look for a different solution, whether it's a handy cam or something like that. But a camera kit, especially the new mirrorless or the older R, and a 24-70 is going to go a long ways filming. And then like we talked about before, some kind of second angle would be huge too, whether it's a GoPro or a Tacticam, something like that you can cut to when you're editing, is huge as well. And again, audio. Pick up a shotgun mic, even better if you can swing it. You can get a wireless lav mic for those cameras as well. And a camera arm of some sort and a fluid head, which all kind of adds up to. But any support equipment that you have, like a camera arm or a fluid head, it's going to last you forever as long as you take decent care of it.
Exactly.
And you can be like, I had behind my house here, just completely forgot one of my fluid heads and camera arms in a tree from, I think I hung it up in October and just didn't sit there again until mid-November. As I was climbing up in the morning, I just went, oh, whoops. And completely fine. Brought it in, dried it off, completely fine. Definitely would not recommend leaving that kind of gear up in a tree if you can help it. But that kind of stuff, I would say it's maybe okay to spend a little bit more money on, because you're going to have it for a while.
Yeah. Ben's looking at me right now because I left that fourth arrow that it fell. The fourth arrow little locking key for the arm for the bubble level. I left it, and I think I came back like, I don't even know, you went with me to look for it. I went to help you find the tree, and trying to find the tree in a freaking 300-acre. Luckily,
it was pretty easy to find.
Thank you for Onyx, right? Onyx definitely saved my life right there, because we were borrowing it, so definitely had to bring that back. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we can't talk to you about what you got going on without mentioning Dialed. So I know we're not in the retail space yet. We're not carrying them, but it's a really good product. It's a really high quality product. You guys have spent a ton of time into this. Ben and I kind of had a running joke because there was a big hype leading up to, and not to poke and stick at you a little bit, there's a huge hype leading up to the product, and he's smiling because he knows what we're talking about. And then we're like, it's a Bose site. It's a Bose site. Like we knew what it was. And then you released it and it was a Bose site. So, but you guys were able to create a huge buzz before you even revealed what your product was. And that was a very smart, especially with the reach that you have individually. That was a very smart tactic. So let's get into Dialed Archery, and let's get into the Arcos site. Am I saying that right?
Arcos.
Yep. So let's go ahead and let's give you your 10 minutes here to talk about Dialed.
Yeah, so that kind of was just spawned off of, we've done content and marketing type things for other companies since 2015, 2016, and kind of just really wanted to be able to control, not that we had any bad experiences or anything, but just wanted to use our skills, for something of our own.
Sure.
Other than just production. And we kind of saw a gap in the industry that, didn't necessarily have, the best marketing. The products were kind of tired, and not that they were bad by any means, but just kind of a lack of innovation and excitement in that kind of segment of the industry. So we just slowly started putting pieces together on how to make it happen. Everything from finally narrowing down that product to coming up with the team that we eventually had, and putting all those pieces together. And then it was kind of game on into, building a brand, like you guys said, building the hype around it, and being genuine with it, that, it's a product that can hold up to how much we push it. I don't think there'd be anything worse than pushing something as hard as we have just to release, crap at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Probably would lose some credibility pretty quick there.
Yeah.
But, so it was just kind of our, need and desire to build something up of our own while still doing our other tasks.
Oh, for sure. And it's a great product, man. I think, where I want to say with this, but I think between, you have something?
It was worth the wait.
It was worth the wait. Yeah. It's a very, very attractive looking Bose site.
Yeah.
Well, I will say that it's an extremely attractive looking Bose site. It blends in. I mean, you can tell that it was kind of, I don't want to say Matthews inspired, because it has a lot of other uses. There's a lot. I mean, you got the pigtail rail and all that stuff coming out for it. So, I mean, anyone can really use it. But, taking the time and color matching stone gray, color matching ambush green, and giving people the option to customize it. There, like you said, in the industry, and Ben and I we're in it. We sell a ton of product, and there's a lot of the same rinse and repeat. It fits. Some people it fits. They just want something to shoot and they don't care. But if you're really detail oriented, and you're really someone that really takes pride in what they have, if you're someone that matches your string color with your riser color and you want this and that, it's definitely a piece I think people will be interested in. But I think with you guys, and then what Chris is doing, and the guys over at UltraView, like what you guys are doing is definitely pushing the envelope and making people, and I think it's getting younger hunters involved too, because it's something that's like hip and modern and really well put together. And it's not, your stereotypical person, Joe Smith hunter selling a, pick your brand, right? I mean, I'm not want to throw him under the bus, but just pick your brand, right? Yeah. But, it's a great site. It's a great looking site. I picked them up at TAC this weekend and got to hold it and play with it. And it was, it's a great piece. So
yeah, you could tell that someone with a design background, had something to do with it. It's just the way it's put together, and I really like how when you're dial, not no pun intended, when you're dialing the site in, it's got the angle, it's just something way different than anybody else has coming out on the market, and it looks sweet.
So if you want to send us too, we'd be happy to. I'm just kidding.
We can chat. No, I really appreciate it, and it's it's one of those things too where, just like how you guys are kind of expressing it right now, it gets. I mean, obviously, I'm one of the founders, but it gets me more excited about archery too. Not that I had a bad experience with any other products or anything like that, but when you can innovate, and come out with something that looks different, works a little bit differently and has some different features. I think it's good overall, and it's great too, even for our competitors. Like,
oh, for sure.
Not that we're doing it intentionally, but kind of poking the bear, like, hey, you guys have been asleep at the wheel for a little bit. Not that they're making anything bad by any means, but a perfect example is look at what the bow manufacturers have done throughout the years. Sights, I think, have kind of been stagnant and stale for the last 20 years or so without any real new, with the exception of, like Garmin coming out with an electronic sight. But it's exciting to be a part of innovation and something that's kind of driving the industry forward as a whole.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, like I said, if you look at the bow industry, you got your occasional updates. I mean, but, and I just told Ben this yesterday too. It seems like if you're looking at the bow industry, a lot of it is like, I can go back to that term, rinse and repeat. Like if you laid out all these bows without any like knowledge of what the brands are, they all look really similar. There's a couple that stand out, specifically one made in Sparta, Wisconsin. But there's I got the hat. But but there there's it's a lot of the same stuff, and I think that site is completely different than anything else that's on the market. And like you said, it only helps elevate other companies to continue to do well as well, So, and I can say the same thing with UltraView. It's just a scope, but now they're elevating other companies to get involved with them. Look at Spot Hog, look at HHA, Excel. Like all these companies are now starting to gravitate towards catering towards that audience, and ultimately it helps everyone rise, right? So
yeah, and that's exactly it too. I think so many people get so competitive and cutthroat, and obviously, I want our brand to do the best it can, but also if you step back and look at what it's doing to the industry as a whole, it's great, so that's exciting to be a part of.
Sweet. And it's all made here in the USA, right? Is that
correct?
Is that the thing too? Yeah, I remember you hearing about that and being able to control the I think you guys said it on your was it that Meet the Founders video? I think Scott or somebody mentioned it, but like being able to control the timelines and not being so handcuffed with COVID and shipping embargoes and whatever have you. So
yeah, you could. I don't know this. I'm just guessing, but like maybe just do smaller runs to have more control over. Well, this didn't work this time, so we're going to change it up, and like having the ability to move your sight tape inside or outside. Bubble on top of the dots. Stuff like that. I think it's really sweet. I'm excited to. I haven't looked at one yet, but I've seen them online, and they look awesome. So
just as good in person. The other thing I really thought was really cool. I think Taylor mentioned it the other day, but the quiver mount, the little small tweak to the quiver mount, and having the shield on the inside. You can take credit for that if it was your idea, but it wasn't mine. No, I'm joking. But just having little pieces like that just really help accentuate the product and really like find
something you may not see until you start paying attention to the small details.
Like, holy crap, there's a shield, right?
Yeah.
So
the kind of tagline that we're living by is designed on purpose. So it's got everything has its meaning, and at the same time we are listening. To consumers and kind of listening to what they want and how we definitely have things how we know they should be, but it's not like we're turning a blind eye to what everybody else is saying.
Oh, for sure. Well, and like I mentioned earlier, you guys decide to get to the point where you're at retail. You let us know. We'll do we'll have some conversations with some folks and see what we can help you with.
For sure. We're definitely. I think I've quit reading online forums for good and bad. But one of the things right away, there's a lot of people hot and heavy against direct-to-consumer companies, which I get. At this point, there's 3 of us founders, and there's just not enough time in a day to take care of everybody. We would love to get there eventually, and we'll strive to be that. But right now, it's just kind of a launch phase.
Oh, for sure. Well, if you want, this would be a great time to get a drink of water because I think Ben's getting ready to rapid fire off some questions for you. Yeah. We wanted to kind
of good to go.
We wanted to kind of catch you a little bit, and then we'll after these we'll probably get ready to get you out of here, man.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right, Jordan. First one. What is your favorite outdoor pursuit, whether it be hunting, fishing, camping, anything like that?
Hunting. And to prioritize that, probably bow hunting. But then I'm a big pheasant hunter too. Yeah. I've got a bird dog and everything, so that's right in there.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I might skip this next one because it's pick between archery or firearms. I think
we know the answer to that one. He's wearing his gear.
So next question after that, if you had to choose between the type of camera, between a cinema or a DSLR to film, which one do you prefer?
Man, if I could only have one, I'd pick a mirrorless.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
R5.
R5. Yep.
There you go.
All right, and we talked about it earlier, but 24 frames or 30 frames?
It's got to be 24.
Yeah. There you go. He knew that answer was going to be your
I already
answer.
Knew.
He knew it.
So you're involved with First Lite. What's your favorite piece of gear that they make?
Ooh, good question.
It's a boring answer, but merino base layers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're right there.
The one thing, not to interrupt you real fast. One thing I wish First Lite would do though, and if you got conversations with Greg, make them happen. We need kids apparel in First Lite. We need kids apparel in First Lite so I can quit buying my daughter the Sika hoodies. Okay. All right. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming.
And I want to touch on that too. If you're talking to Greg, I know the new hoodie has the face mask built in.
Yeah.
Build that into the merino. Or a light hoodie.
They probably already did.
Yeah, they probably already did. But
I don't have any say, but I can psycho text him for you. I'll just let him know.
Okay, so you don't have to go into bands or anything specific, but if you had to choose a favorite music genre, what would that be?
Ooh,
he's got the guitars back
man,
there,
that's tough. If you were to see my Spotify playlist, you'd be so confused. It's like some throwback, like Lil Jon, all the way up to like the Turnpike Troubadours. Like I'll listen to anything. I play guitar and drums, so kind of just whatever I'm feeling that day.
Cool.
A lot of like Texas country lately. We did a film with Colton Moore a couple falls ago, and
that was great.
That was great. It's fun and easy to listen to.
That was another Taylor episode, wasn't it? Or no, that was I'm getting that one.
He was there.
Yep.
I'm right there with you on the Spotify playlist. It's like if you scroll through, it'd be super random.
Yeah, I got Zach Bryan right now on loop right now. So,
all right. So
there you go.
As far as the filmmaking stuff and everything that you guys do at Captured, where do you pull inspiration from?
Oh yeah,
man, a little bit of everywhere. I will say I pay attention to the outdoor industry stuff more so I don't end up inadvertently copying something that somebody else has done. But a lot of the inspiration is coming from other industries and what they're doing.
Sure.
Various sports, motocross, car racing. A lot of there's a lot of things that a lot of other genres of content are doing that you can kind of incorporate, as well as just regular old, like, go to the movie theater and open up notes on your phone and just kind of take note of camera movement or different shot angles and that sort of thing. It's across the board for sure where I'm pulling stuff from.
Cool.
That's good.
So we talked archery. What's your bow setup look like?
Good question.
I have right behind me the V3X, obviously the Arxos sight on it.
29 or 33?
29.
29, okay.
I've got a short draw length. I've only got a 28-inch draw, so the shorter axle-to-axle bows work pretty well for me.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so out of all the projects that you guys have done, you don't have to pick one, but just what's the favorite one out of all of them, if you have one or two or however many? Yeah,
they're all kind of different and I guess special, if you could use that word, in different ways. Obviously, In City Limits with Chamberlain was our first film that we'd ever done for a client, at least. So that one's always going to hold a special, place in my heart. I will say, watching back, I'm like, man, what the heck were you doing when you were filming this? Or why does this look the way it does? And obviously, I'm my own worst critic too. So I can watch something like once, but after a while, I just don't even want to watch it because I'm just going to sit there and critique myself for 10 minutes or however long it is. Yeah. But that one was special. Newcomb was really special too. Even story-wise, that guy is just a really special guy and pretty cool to be around. So like I said before, there hasn't been a project that I've wrapped and gone, dang it, like that sucked. Sure, yeah. They're all super fun, and you can build on what you do from one to the next.
Oh, for sure. That's all you got.
Yep.
That's all I got.
I'll tell you, the one thing cool about First Lite as well is obviously you guys have a big hand in the YouTube generated content, right? So that last video with with Jordan, I can't think of her last name off the top of my head.
Oh, Jordan Budd.
Bud. Oh my gosh, man!
Yes, we didn't do that.
That was Jonah.
That was Jonah.
Yeah,
Jonah.
Yeah, and Jonah's got a really close friend down here at Isaiah Dressback, who used to be on our pro staff team.
Cool.
That video, even Jordan. Yeah. Did you do the video with her when she was at home in Kansas? It was Kansas, right? It was like on.
No, I believe that was Max Benz too.
Yeah, I was to say because that was her content's great, but that video.
Yep.
The content that you guys are creating, obviously that was Jonah, but just it's just, for YouTube content, it's been really awesome. It's been really awesome. It's almost like watching TV again, so it comes back to that. So
I really enjoyed the Newcomb episode. The parts, part 1, part 2, part 3. Yeah. I thought it was really cool the way you guys broke it up into pieces and just went through, what he's all about. I thought it was really great.
Yeah. For sure.
They're definitely team efforts, to get it done. We've working with, producers at First Lite and kind of our team internally. it's fun to be able to get a group of guys who are just really creative in a room and just go to town, whether it's pre-production notes or even when we're in post editing, throwing different ideas back and forth. It's the team aspect of it is a lot of fun. Even if it's annoying at the time, like, dang it, I got to re-edit that 2-minute segment. It took me, 3 days to wrap, and now we're going to drop a new track in and change stuff up. But you do it enough and you realize, like, hey, once I'm done with this, it's going to be way better than it was before. And it's just kind of that mind shift set of like, hey, it's for the betterment of the story, and it's only making everybody else look better. And it's just super fulfilling to wrap a project like that. For sure.
Well, man, it's been great. We say this a lot, but I know for a fact that we could go on for at least a couple more hours today. Yeah. I mean,
if people would stop listening because I could talk forever
if they haven't already. Well, man, I really appreciate you coming on. I know this has been great. Hopefully we can get you on again here in the future, and maybe we can talk some more dialed with Taylor and stuff. But Ben and I, obviously we're in the industry, we're creating content. We look up to what you guys have going on for sure. I know I draw inspiration from it quite a bit. And I just want to thank you for coming on again. And, you guys are filming another video with Taylor here in Ohio or something. Be sure to hit us up because we'd love to come out and hang out with you guys and BS some more. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Awesome. It's been great. Thank you guys for having me on.
All right, brother. Have a great afternoon, and we'll take care.
Yeah, sounds good.
See ya.
See ya.
All right, everyone, that's all we have for you today. We hope you enjoyed that conversation with Jordan. It was super fun to nerd out about cameras and creating content. If you haven't already, we highly recommend heading over to the First Lite YouTube page and checking out some of those short films that we discussed today. As always, we appreciate you listening. Please leave us a rating and share this episode with a friend. And until next time, enjoy the pursuit.